She's like, oh, that's a dinosaur. I have young boys. They love dinosaurs. So just kind of the joke about, little kids loving dinosaurs, which granted, I was one of those kids. I still am. I still love dinosaurs, okay? It's not a phase, it's a lifestyle. Hello and welcome to my channel. In this video, I'll be discussing Jurassic Park by Michael Crichton, and I decided I'm going to go ahead and make this a spoiler review because A, the book's been out for a really long time, and you could be like me who had never read it before. This was actually my first time. You've probably seen the movie though, and even if you haven't, you probably have a pretty good idea of what's going to happen. In reading Jurassic Park 2, I was surprised that really knowing a lot of the major plot points did not lessen my enjoyment of the book, and that was really awesome. I had always heard the book was really good, and like I said, when you kind of know something's going to happen, it can be hit or miss. Spoilers are not usually a good thing in my opinion, but with this book, it really didn't make much of a difference, and it opens not actually on the island quite yet, but we're in Costa Rica, and there are starting to be sightings of these new lizard creatures, and some of them are like attacking people, and they're just really little ones. And it's kind of like this mystery feeling of what's going on. And despite the fact that, once again, you know what's going on, it's really, really well done, and it's still enjoyable with the kind of build up. You get a lot of back and forth where nobody, of course, is going to assume it's a dinosaur because granted, I mean, you're not going to assume you just stumbled upon a dinosaur even today that's still alive, but at the time, too, considering this book and then movie are what really popularized and made dinosaurs much, much more well known to the general public, it makes sense that nobody said that. But we do get a great moment where basically it's sent off the sample of it is sent to a lab, and there is somebody working at that lab too who sees a picture that a child had drawn of it. She's like, oh, that's a dinosaur. I have young boys. They love dinosaurs. So just kind of the joke about, little kids loving dinosaurs, which granted, I was one of those kids. I still am. I still love dinosaurs, okay? It's not a phase, it's a lifestyle. And so anyway, we get that happening, but of course nobody's like really thinking that's what it's going to be. We also get just a great kind of dry humor of the process of red tape, all of the different things that happen, causing nobody to find out right away, where they're kind of running some samples, but they just assume it's something else, this other type of lizard. The person who gets bit, one of them ends up being fine. So like, we won't even worry about, testing the saliva to see what's going on. And all of these things that delay anybody really finding it out, and also just really well done. I like the kind of that I suppose it's a trope. It's not something you get in at least fantasy, which I mostly read, but there's probably more in sci-fi, and you get it in other aspects, not even in just literature as well. But the kind of small miscommunications, almost that like sitcom style version of the trope, where all these small miscommunications or all these little things, just people being people, not fully doing their jobs, end up causing a huge delay. We get a little bit further in, and then our familiar faces are brought in to the park to basically determine if it is safe, because the investors are worried. So we get our Dr. Alan Grant, we get Ian Malcolm, of course, as well, and they're going out to the island. And I kept picturing everybody specifically as their characters, and so I'm seeing that, especially Jeff Goldblum, who was perfectly cast here. But we get Grant and Malcolm and Sadler and John Hammond and all of the different characters actually get to the island, and you still kind of feel some of the wonder as well. And part of it, I think, too, I was completely flashing to the scenes in the movie when reading it, which just kind of amplified it more. But there are some differences with not only a few of the characters to an extent, but also the actual descriptions of the dinosaurs are a bit different here than they were in the movie in all cases. So we get a bit of that, but we do get the kids as well, which were very, very different. The little boy who basically solves a lot of problems in the story and is like really into dinosaurs and computers, and then Lex, who was just really obnoxious, and is that kind of like obnoxious other person's child, where you like start thinking like children are a bad idea and just shouldn't be allowed to exist, who just really complains the entire time. We had a big running thing going back and forth on Discord, just all of us complaining, and we had people who started the buddy read late too, and then they'd get there like, oh my gosh, I need Lex to get eaten by a raptor or something, because she was real obnoxious. I know that was the point, but it was really annoying. But we get going anyway, and we do have a lot of familiar scenes, like I said, but also some different things as well with some of the different characters. And it was interesting too, the way that the tech guy, Nedry, I was forgetting for a minute, the way he's portrayed. He's still kind of a bad guy, but it also does more to show the fact that Hammond and the whole company in general, InGen, and who is putting this whole thing, all of the things that they've done and their investors, and just it plays at Hammond as a lot more, having a lot more culpability, I would say. He comes off as a bad guy to an extent, for just not really caring about safety and just trying to do this and not listening to anyone else. And you get that a lot more, where he kind of seems more the kind-hearted old man who just wants to see his dream in the movie. So that was one interesting, where it's just the blame shifts just a little bit there in a really interesting way, and it made for a different take on the story. The other thing is the way the narrative is basically structured was not quite like anything I'd ever seen before. It was divided into iterations, and each iteration was actually also showing like the further into chaos theory of it going in varials, and just kind of like showing everything collapse little by little, and where like all the problems start to come out. That was very much the narrative beneath the narrative. There was a ton of talk, and we get a lot of Ian Malcolm talking about chaos theory and just about the science in general and power, and how science is something that's it had become for the rich. The rich just pay for what they want for science. They never think about whether or not it's a good idea or not. And there was a lot of commentary in there as well about big companies and scientists who were just trying to earn money. And some of the commentary didn't age the best, just because he makes a comment about makes a comment specifically about like charging for medicine, and people like they might create this new wonder drug, but they can't just charge whatever they want for it. The government would never allow that, and you're like, kind of. But really was interesting, and between the actual chaos theory and the philosophizing in there, and then just the actual science, you get actually quite a lot of scientific explanation into how the dinosaurs were created. You get a lot of different talks of genetics, DNA. You have like actual diagrams and pictures showing different parts of the computer and the coding. There's a lot of stuff included in the book that I feel like would not be included in most books. And it really actually worked for me. I enjoyed the science parts. Now, like I said, I really like dinosaurs, and so maybe I reacted better than some people would to it. But it's just kind of the way the whole thing was structured. I think Crichton did a great job of taking all of these different elements and putting them together, and really, really making it work. Now, I haven't read any of his other work, so I don't know if that's kind of like a trademark of his or not, or if it was just something for this book. But yeah, I don't normally expect a really odd narrative structure. Chapters are only ever like specifying like where they are or who we're following, so it was a little odd knowing exactly where you were, because you might have like 10 different chapters called control because they're at the control area, so on and so forth. But between that, the diagrams, all the different pieces, it was a really interesting experience reading this book. I've never read anything that was structured in quite that way, so I found that really interesting as well. We do, of course, get plenty of our dinosaurs, and we have a plot here too, where like raptors are escaping to the mainland, potentially on a boat. Some of the ways that things happen are just a little bit different, but we get a lot of the same kind of action and fun in general, and getting to see our characters in different circumstances. The really big difference, and I've heard that this is retconned for The Lost World, which I haven't read yet either, but like Hammond actually dies at the end. and you definitely get the feeling that like he kind of deserved it, because like I said, he's portrayed as more of a bad guy in this version than before, and it's really like him and Malcolm argue a lot, and are at odds the entire time with it as well, because Malcolm is just trying to say like, look, these things are going to happen. This is never going to work. People are going to get hurt. Chaos is going to erupt on the island, and of course he's right. You know, we have the dinosaurs escaping. We get all the fun of the T-Rex, the raptors, and it's just reading through too was really fantastic. It's made me really, really want to watch Jurassic Park, and I'm going to have to watch Jurassic Park very, very soon, because I want to watch the movie so bad, the original. I liked the second two as well. I know three is really silly, but I liked that movie a lot when I was a kid, so I feel like it's just kind of stuck. Um, but it really worked, I thought, very, very nicely as well. It also did seem like Malcolm might die as well, the way they made it look, and the kind of end where they're all brought to the mainland, and then are all like being questioned. They're trying to figure out what's going on, and it's just it puts it very differently. And it does seem like I don't think The Lost World was planned. It's my understanding that Spielberg basically said, like, we need you to write another book so we can make another movie. And they just kept making more anyway. But it has that open-ended but still kind of final feeling to it with the way that it ends. Uh, we do have some casualties, of course, but we do have our main characters, for the most part, making it safely off the island. And it just was really an interesting read. I really liked this one. I gave it, I think, 4 out of 5 on Goodreads, so it's something I really liked. It wasn't like I wasn't like in love with it, but I just really enjoyed it. Like I said, some of the nostalgia from, of course, seeing the movies just tons of times, never reading the book, but just the different narrative structure and the narrative choices, the descriptions, just getting to see the dinosaurs through the way that they were described, some things that went through. I really, really did enjoy this. This was a really fun read. I definitely recommend it. If you, like me, have still not read Jurassic Park, definitely would recommend that you do read it. It's one of those where there's so many books out there, and this is one I needed to get to. So we decided to do the buddy read for it in the Discord, and I'm glad that we did. So I'll definitely have to read The Lost World now too, and check out more Crichton, because this was my first book of his as well, like I said, and I really enjoyed it. I really liked his storytelling and just the way that he used these odd devices, different themes, and kind of weaved it all together into one, where you have a lot of hard science and computer logic and philosophy and chaos theory and DNA like sequencing and all of this with like dinosaurs. And you think like, I want to just focus on the dinosaurs, is what I would think too. But all of it weaves together so well into a really, really satisfying story. So those are my thoughts on Jurassic Park by Michael Crichton. Once again, this was a really good read, and I quite enjoyed it. And I do plan on doing, going forward, I think some more like longer spoiler reviews. I know this one still wasn't like a crazy long video by any means, but I've kind of decided that I originally, I pretty much in every video I talked some spoiler free and some spoilers, and a lot longer reviews. I've been trying to get them shorter and spoiler free, just so they're easier for more people to consume. But I really want to get back to doing more in-depth conversations that include spoilers, because that was really what I started out doing. That's why I started the channel. I wanted to talk in depth about books. And I feel like I've kind of fallen away from that, so I think I'm going to start doing probably less reviews overall, but more longer, more in-depth reviews. And some of them I'll probably put unlisted, or just like put out in playlists instead of just posting everything, because I have been reading some books that are not well known and are late in a series, and it's just gonna kind of happen. But that's where I am kind of with reviews right now and what I'm planning on doing. For this video, if you enjoyed it, make sure to give it a like. Don't forget to check the link in the description for the Wizardly Duo Discord if you want to join us and chat there. We're always having a ton of fun on the Discord, and we have, like I said, this is a buddy read. We have a ton more buddy reads coming up, so if you want to check any of those out, check out the Discord. And of course, if you'd like to see more of my content, then make sure to subscribe.